we will catch them. They will come back to jail.
4 inmates on the run in Bibb County. It's been over 36 hours since their escape. Tonight, who they are and the crimes they're accused of committing.
It is an old facility, and it's outgrown its usefulness, so we've just got to start talking about that.
Renewed calls for action. Lawmakers in Macon say a new jail is needed now. What do you think? Get involved with our interactive poll.
And it's 3 years in a row they have recommended the closure, the immediate upgrades, and several other things that have not been addressed.
Plus, a deep dive into 3 years of inspections inside the jail, the problems discovered, and how they contributed to this week's escape. WGXA News has team coverage on this week's inmate escape starting now. And right now, the search is on for 4 men who escaped from the Bibb County Law Enforcement Center in the early hours on Monday morning. And now the community and law enforcement are left with questions. Throughout tonight's coverage, we want to know what you think is the biggest contributor to the escape. Scan the QR code on your screen or go to the WGXA News app to vote in our interactive poll. But in the meantime, WGXA has team coverage on the jailbreak tonight. We'll get a closer look at exactly who is on the run and why some are blaming the county and the sheriff's office for the escape. We go first to our Amanda Peralta now, where she gives us an inside look into the charges the escapees are facing. Amanda.
Greg, this is actually the house where one of the 4 inmates that is currently still on the run, where he is accused of murdering his ex-girlfriend. Now, we did check earlier today, and the house is still listed for sale.
The oldest man in the group is 54-year-old Joey Fournier, who is accused of murdering Barry in February 2022. She was 49 years old at the time of her death, and he was being held at the law enforcement center on charges of malice murder, felony murder, and aggravated assault when he escaped, leaving no trace behind. He was awaiting trial prior to his disappearance. The youngest is 24-year-old Mark Anderson, once a troubled teen who has continued his run-ins with the law into his adulthood. He was behind bars on 3 counts of aggravated assault after shooting at a car with a person inside and at a house with 2 people inside in March 2020. He pleaded not guilty to all of the charges and does not have a trial set. One of the 2 remaining men is 29-year-old Travis Stokes, who was arrested on multiple charges, including trafficking meth and possession of a firearm during the commission of a crime. While in jail, he racked up more charges, including obstruction of an officer and simple battery for hitting an officer. The final man is one who Sheriff David Davis says has nothing to lose. 37-year-old Jonathan Barnwell, known as a member of the Mafia, a street gang in Macon. He was staring down a life sentence in prison. Barnwell was held for the U.S. Marshals after being convicted of federal charges, including conspiracy to distribute fentanyl, meth, and heroin.
Now, Greg, WGXA has received reports that one of the inmates has been spotted in a Macon neighborhood. The sheriff's office has not yet confirmed that. I'm back over to you.
Amanda, thank you. And we continue our coverage now, hearing from lawmakers who have continually called for a new jail because of several issues. Our Carlos Stevens joins us from just outside the Macon-Bibb County Jail with a reaction from the local lawmakers. And Carlos, what have local government officials told you?
Well, Greg, I talked to one commissioner and he told me there is a violent competition happening in the Macon-Bibb County Jail.
The potential for danger is just tremendous.
Well, they're getting treated like animals.
That facility is in need of help.
According to commissioners and a protester, the facility is facing serious issues, with complaints ranging from the inmates being treated like animals to the urgent need for assistance.
And when I'm talking about violence, I'm talking about physical fights. We're talking about incidents with weapons. And there's a violent competition happening each night on the shortage of beds.
Protesters who spoke to WGXA last month highlighting deplorable conditions. One protester mentioned witnessing rats crawling out of drains, dirt on walls and in bathrooms, and even feces. Another woman whose fiance was incarcerated described the conditions in one word:
Hell.
Commissioner Watkins revealed that the Bibb County Grand Jury and the DA's office have consistently reported terrible conditions, recommending closure and immediate upgrades for years.
And it's 3 years in a row they have recommended the closure, the immediate upgrades, and several other things that have not been addressed.
Commissioner Elaine Lucas shared alarming information that some cells cannot be locked properly as prisoners have figured out how to manipulate the doors.
The prisoners kind of jimmy the doors. Even someone who's inside a cell might have that compromise.
Lucas emphasized the need for an urgent call for action, suggesting a critical need to address and rectify the dire situation within the Macon-Bibb County Jail.
I think that conversation, community conversation on law enforcement, on public safety has got to happen, and it's got to happen soon.
Now, my colleague Gloria Ruth Finney is actually in the commissioning meeting right now here at City Hall. She'll have the very latest from lawmakers tonight on ABC 16 News at 11. For now, we're live here at the City Hall. I'm Carlos Stevens, WGXA News.
Carlos, thank you. And lawmakers aren't the only ones who think the Bibb County LEC is partially to blame for the escape. WGXA's Brianna Cook looks back at the grand jury reports to see what problems they say the jail has been facing. Brianna?
Greg, I'm standing outside the jail fence where the inmates cut for their escape. And now this jail has had several complaints from the grand jury about maintenance and upkeep. And Sheriff David Davis says that's because age will simply rot something away.
Downtown, so I'm sure they're out.
You're going to find issues in a large facility like that, as old as it is.
Issues that have been prevalent for years per multiple grand jury reports. Once in each calendar year, the grand jury is supposed to inspect the conditions and operations of the county jail. WGXA has records of those inspections for the last 3 years. In February 2021, the grand jury made observation that there were exposed wires, broken windows, and black mold. Less than a month later, Sheriff David Davis spoke on those issues to commissioners.
If you have a general inspection like a house, you're going to find a lot of issues that may have to be fixed. That we have an old facility that we're staying on top of to just maintain it.
This week's escape involved a damaged window. Those issues from 2 years ago are still facing the Bibb County Jail. So much so that a protest took place September of this year. Gabrielle Berry was one of the protesters. She says she received videos of rats and feces in the jail.
They're getting treated like animals. They can't speak for themselves, so my family and friends have decided to come out and let the world know what kind of jail Bibb County, LEC is. It's just ridiculous.
Now, flashback to Davis's conversation with commissioners in 2021. He mentioned the idea of hiring people to help inspect and maintain the facility.
We get about 3 or 4 maintenance staff on our payroll. That might help us too, but we are having to deal with an aged facility.
Previous grand juries have questioned the sheriff's office understaffing, recommending pay increases and incentives. Davis confirmed on Monday that fewer than 10 deputies were in the jail during this week's escape. This year, the grand jury reports some of the same problems: black mold along with exposed wires and open chemicals. They even recommended the construction of a new facility with money allocated from other county projects like the amphitheater. In a press conference with Davis on Monday following this week's escape, he emphasized how rundown the jail really is.
We have a 43-year-old jail, and this happened in the oldest part of the jail, the oldest, rundownest part of the jail. And so I've been talking about, we need a new jail, we need a new jail. We have a jail that is falling down on us, that is breaking down.
This year's grand jury inspection happened this May, so the next one won't be until sometime in 2024. Reporting live in Macon, Brianna Cook, WGXA News.
All right, thanks, Brianna. Now, WGXA went out into the community today to find out what some of you think about the escape. Here's what some Middle Georgians had to say.
Well, I live downtown, so I'm kind of nervous about them being on the run, but I'm sure they're out of the downtown area, but it still makes me nervous at night.
I would think so, after where 43 years, yeah, and not having enough people working. We absolutely need a new jail, yes.
We've had that many inmates escape in that short a period of time. There's obviously an issue and definitely need to do something.
And WGXA is at the Macon-Bibb County Commission meeting tonight to get answers for you. Now, right now, we're taking a live look at the meeting as WGXA's Gloria Ruth Finney is preparing to hopefully ask our county leaders the hard questions like, how will a new jail improve safety and prevent crime after reports of staff misconduct? And why are motion-censored alarms and lights not available to prevent escapes? And finally, what is the county's next course of action in this case? Be sure to join us tonight at 11 on ABC 16 when Gloria Ruth shares the county's answers. Now, many are left wondering why it took so long for the news of the escape to make it to the public. Let's look at a timeline of events since the 4 men made their getaway. Bibb County deputies say the 4 escapees made a run for it at 3 in the morning on Monday. They broke out of the jail through a broken day room window before cutting their way through 2 fences at the LEC. All 4 were picked up in a blue Dodge Challenger. Just after 8:45 Monday morning, WGXA received multiple tips from the community about a potential jailbreak. At 9:12, we asked the Bibb County Sheriff's Office to confirm whether or not any inmates escaped. We did not get a response for hours. Then a little over 2 hours later, the Sheriff's Office issues a be on the lookout notice for 4 escaped inmates. The Sheriff's Office releases the mugshots of the missing inmates and a photo of the blue Challenger that picked them up. At 11:46, Bibb County schools notify parents of the escape. All schools in the district were put on precautionary lockdowns. Then at 3:30 Monday afternoon, Bibb County Sheriff David Davis addresses the public for the first time since the escape during a press conference. He says the escapees will return to the Bibb County Law Enforcement Center and that it's just a matter of time. Now, Fournier, Anderson, Stokes, and Barnwell are not the first to escape a Middle Georgia jail. In fact, 6 other inmates have made a run for it in the past 6 months. In March, William Knight escaped the Baldwin County Jail. He was caught the next day in Washington County. In April, 3 inmates were able to make an escape. Deshaun Garrison got out of Johnson State Prison with the help of 2 accomplices. All 3 were later arrested the same day. Also in April, Kenneth Hamilton and Jacob Long left the Macon Transitional Center for a brief period before they were caught later that same day. And another escape happening in July when Bobby Minor and Raekwon Ray got out of the Macon County Jail. Ray was caught and arrested 3 days later. And earlier in our coverage, we asked you what you think is to blame for the escape. We are asking you your opinion, and 37% of you said that you feel that it has to do with staffing shortages, while 29% say it has to deal with a lack of security. Now, you still have time to participate in this interactive poll. Just scan the QR code on your screen and let us know what you think. And be sure to download the WGXA News app. We've made it easier than ever. Just scan the QR code that you see there on your screen. It downloads straight to your smart device. WGXA News is your source to keep you updated on all the late-breaking news and developments.